And then when they have done their business computation, they have added their overheads, they have added their profit margins, then they get to what we normally know as the selling price of the commodity they are engaged in. And then they charge the same tax at the same rate on it. Now, when they do that, the law then says that you then have to set off what you have paid, because it's not supposed to be your business cost. You set that off from what you have collected when you make sales. So then it becomes an output-input relationship. And then the difference is what, if at the period that you are doing this computation on a monthly basis, the difference is a positive one, then it's at a payment position. So then you can pay the difference to the Ghana Revenue Authority. However, if the difference now is a repayment position, which means that you have a credit because you may have made more purchases than sales for that particular period, then you have a credit, we call it a repayment position, on your ledger, which we expect that subsequent transactions will come to set it off, and then we move on. So that is how it is. Now, the flat rate is, I said it's a computation. It's a percentage measure of the turnover that you would have built in your business. So every sector have their different turnover relationship. And so that is how come, for example, you would notice that there was a flat rate of 3% for retailers. Then there is a flat rate of 5% for estate developers. So that is how it is. So actually there's no increase. There's no increase in the tax rate for businesses. They are just being moved on to the standard, which was the same standard used to do the computation for them to have the flat rate.
So the standard should have been 20% initially, is what you're implying.
Initially, I would say that the standard, when you come to the tax laws, the standard for VAT is 15%. 15. However, there are other levies, taxes, which apply when these transactions are taken. And they mimic the form in which the VAT takes. And therefore, people are minded to normally add them to the VAT rate as part of the VAT rate. Right. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that like 3% would be for retail, and then before it was the 5% for real estate. Yeah. So what happens for example, affordable housing developers as opposed to luxury? Is there a distinct difference between the two? Because then how would affordable developers still maintain affordable prices if they're paying the same taxes as luxury real estate developers, for example? Okay, thank you very much. Indeed, if you consider the tax landscape, you would realize that there is, every government, successive governments try to put a measure of equity in placing or applying the taxes to the various activities and transactions that we are engaged in. And so, across board, the 5% flat rate that was there was across board. It didn't have a discrimination between affordable and luxury business or real estate development. It was just across board for all of the ones that are in the real estate. And so that is how it is. So even moving it into the standard, the same situation pertains. There is no change or there is no discrimination between what is affordable and what is luxury. And I mentioned the equity situation because at the end of the day, to each his own, to a large extent. So at whatever level you are, the tax applicable there, you work with it accordingly. So I'm at pains to really identify where the difference will lie between the affordable and the luxury houses for that matter. All right, Mr. Samuel, I'm going to bring you into the conversation here. You've heard about the GRA computations where 5% really should have been 15% initially, so they're going back to their original intent. My question to you is, who ends up paying the difference in these taxes? Is it, I mean, there's a computation, there's the, reality of it as well. Is this passed on to the homeowner and a first-time home buyer, for example,
who is saved up a lot of money to purchase a property is now being hit with the taxes, or are you as developers taking in, soaking in that difference?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I think from the statements from GRA, you get the picture clear that the tax did not discriminate or did not make any provision for anybody in the bracket of affordable housing purchase. So it cuts across. And so it goes to tell you that we are all in the same bucket and we all bear the same costs. And it is also a tax that is meant to the buyer. The VAT is meant to be paid for by the buyer.
So you pass it on to the buyer.
So yes, that is the whole arrangement.
So you do your prices.
Yes, so you do all your computation, your costs, your margins, and everything. Then you have to then apply the VAT for revenue purposes for the government. So it is not a tax that is targeted at the developer. That is it. We know that is what it is. But the developer is concerned because as a businessman, you cannot be unconcerned about what happens to your customers. And the nature of our business or the nature of property is that anything that happens to you, the developer, happens to also the final person who is the buyer. And so GREDA is concerned about the buyer at the moment because the more buyers we have, the more business we have. The more opportunity we create for the system, the more we create jobs for people to do. And so when there's an effect of how much affordability is to everybody, it tells you that the purchasing power of the Ghanaian has been heavily affected. And so the number of housing units you may be able to sell will go down. A lot of things will happen. Even people who qualify for mortgage will suffer. People are already struggling based on their monthly incomes and cannot even afford certain mortgages because their salary threshold and the calculations throws them completely out. Now it means that there's an additional cost coming to them. So if, like Mr. Kalmoni put it in a simple term, as for Mr. Quarcoopome, he will bring all the plenty technical words here, which will not be too good for our audience, so that we bring it down for them to appreciate it. We will leave most of the technical jargons aside, and then we just break it down so they will appreciate. So let's put it this way. If I'm selling 100,000 Ghana cedis house to somebody at the moment, the law says that I should apply 20%. So let's say the cost has gone up to 120. This is just in simple terms, but It's not in the reality, it's not like that. Now, if somebody is struggling to qualify for mortgage with 100,000, and now he has to now pay 120. It means that if there were 8 people who could qualify for mortgage yesterday, because of this VAT, we will not get the number of 8 people qualifying for the mortgage. We will probably get 6 or 4 at this time because we will throw a lot more people out of the qualification criterion.
So do you think
it has a significant effect on the market.
So do you think this is why there's a housing deficit?
Yes. You see, sometimes we come out with laws, regulations that don't allow the market to flow. And we leave the other alternatives that, for me, I think we should be focusing more on those alternatives, if only it is about revenue collection. So you remember last time when we met here, even though we didn't talk about tax into detail, I said that we are of the view that if you allow more houses to be on the market and focus on things like rent income, property tax, you will make more money.
Absolutely.
Than stifling the opportunity to rather bring the houses onto the market. Let the houses come. Let them be available. Let people have accommodation. Let it become, people are even doing business with it. I'm not saving my money in the bank. I'm putting my money into housing so I can give people accommodation. That is an opportunity for rent income. That is an opportunity for VAT, for rental properties and stuff like that. So I think we are always in a hurry to focus on the easy way and will not want to take our time to process ourselves into the widening of the tax net and always, collecting from the same people, increasing from the same people. It's becoming one too many.
Yeah, but is this really the easy way? I don't think it's
it
really
is.
the easy way.
It is the easy way to GRE.
The easiest way is to tax people who own homes. because they can afford it,
exactly.
as opposed to taxing in the onset for people who are now trying to own property. So that's where I say,
that's the point
yes.
I'm saying. Let me add this. That is why we say, look, if even you will not take the, we're even talking about the 5% flat rate. We are not even come to the 20%. We were proposing to government that you're concerned about affordable housing. Let's allow people who are struggling to buy houses at that affordable bracket to be allowed to have their freedom.
Tax
so yes, so say
maybe?
For the first $50,000 equivalent, now let's say that's about 300,000 Ghana city homes, for example. They should be tax free. The next level, that is from 300 to maybe 600 and 750, let's tax them about 1%. Then from 700 to maybe $1 million, let's tax them 2%. And then maybe from 1.2 million thereabout going, we believe that anybody who can afford a home at that price can equally pay a 5% flat rate on the price. And that was some nice proposal we gave to government. Government says, minty. So, 20% na me pay.
Mr.
David, I don't get it.
What is your response to this proposal? And my question to you is, why now? Why now? Why not just keep it at the 5%? Why now? What's the increase? What is the purpose of this? What are you trying to achieve in increasing this? Because we hear government saying they want to get more people in homes. So is this a path to be able to achieve that?
Okay, thank you. Indeed, there's always a time for something to be done. And I believe that it's better late than never. If you go down the path of VAT from its inception, several amendments have taken place as a result of or in reaction to activities on the market. Let me use the general term market. Okay, so if you come to this position, you will agree with me that there was a time that the mode of computation, bear in mind, the tax rates and levies rate have not changed. However, the mode of computation changed over time. And in changing, then raised the effective rate of the tax. Right. So you hear in most of the news and discussions, effective rate was 21.9%, probably you round it up to 22%. That was the case. It was as a result of the mode of computation. So in coming into power, this government decides that we want to rationalize the system because we want to bring, as a result of even those amendments and changes, even to a certain extent, some of our officers themselves get confused as to what is going on, because this Act 870 that came into effect in 2013 has seen almost 12 amendments just from 2013. Almost every year. In some years, you have 2 amendments. And so when an officer picks a document and he wants to work on this thing, which one is he using? Sometimes there's a little confusion. So we needed to harmonize the system so that people are all aware of exactly what must be done at any particular point in time and the treatments accordingly. And so this is what was done in collaboration with the IMF team that was brought in to do a review. Together with the Ministry of Finance team and then GRA team, we went through these processes. And this is the outcome that we have now. Rationalize the system, harmonize it, ensure that there is fairness across board, and the expectation is that it will enhance or engender voluntary compliance across board for people to meet their tax obligations. And once that is being done, then the realization of the much needed revenue for national development that will take place.
When you talk about revenue for national development, can you break it down for our viewers? They want to know where is this 20% going? So, because you know, when taxes are being billed, and then they're being billed for a particular reason, and you see that particular reason, you don't mind paying.
Good.
If you can pay.
Good.
So please let our viewers know, where is the 20% going?
Okay, so generally, the tax revenue goes into the consolidated fund for distribution for various national assignments and responsibilities. However, if you cast your mind back, you realize that for VAT especially, we have the 2.5% that is was being charged on VAT, which was taken off and made a straight levy. That 2.5% was for the GET fund. So schools, that is Ghana Education Trust Fund. So schools infrastructures were being built using that side of the resource. So if you find out that there are lots and lots of schools, school buildings, or equipments for schools have been provided by the Ghana Education Trust Fund, this is where it is coming from. So if we all pay the 2.5% for the GET fund, then we are also expecting that there will be development in our educational system, and which we are all privy to the fact that, yes, there is, even though we have not reached the level, there is a substantial development activity going on within the education sector. The schools have been built, equipments have been purchased for various schools, new classroom blocks and all those have come up. It is all through the GET fund that we pay, the GET fund levy that we pay. Similarly, we have the National Health Insurance Levy, and that is supposed to cushion all of us when it comes to the health issues. So it's not all of us that can register and then pay the required insurance for our health issues. Not all of us can also attend to the health centers, go and seek medical attention with money in our pockets. So this National Health Insurance Levy is part of the arrangement to help cushion us on the effects of our health issues. And so if we are paying it, then we should see a rise. And if we are not paying, then there's a problem. That means that we cannot have the resources needed to help all of us to get benefits from our health issues. And so those are the two areas. However, the VAT itself at 15%, as it is now, goes directly into the consolidated fund, as I mentioned earlier on. And that is what is also used for various developmental activities required for carrying this country forward.
So what happened to the proposal that was submitted by GREDA? Any update on that proposal? Is it still being reviewed, or has it been denied, or what's the status at this time?
Great, thank you. I wouldn't say the proposal has been outrightly denied. However, from where I sit and what I know a little, it is important to note that, as I mentioned earlier, we need to rationalize the system. So if we come in with the same, probably for want of any better word, contorted arrangements, we'll still confuse ourselves and confuse the system. So what the government seeks to do now, through policy, and which is being administered by GRA, is to ensure that we have certainty in our tax arrangement and tax environment, in our tax rates as applicable across board. Now, I want to believe that when this is well sorted, that everybody comes to the same level of understanding of the implementation and implication of these tax rates as they exist, then various areas of concern can be addressed. That is actually my personal opinion in relation to these concerns, because the concern has actually been taken on board. However, we all know, we all agree that it has not come out in the current tax law that has been passed. Because this is a reform, and the reform must show a basis. And when the base is settled, we can now build upon it and move further. I know from studies that in practice, this flat rate issue that we are talking about, there are economies that run it. It is not flat and just across board for everybody. It is done on sectorial basis, and these various sectors will have the particular rate that applies to them based on their turnover arrangements and issues. So let's give a push. Let's all take this on board and see how best we can first and foremost get these reforms to settle, and everybody will know exactly what is going on and where we are going to. Then, if there's a need for add-ons and a few other areas to be tweaked to make things run much better than this one would have given us, then we move on with it. That is what I would say to this question.
Okay, well, thanks for your response. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to give Mr. Samuel the opportunity to respond. We'll be right back.
My name is Funny Face, and this is the Children's Park. This is the Children's President. I'm standing here this day by the grace of God and the prayers of parents and their children. On the 21st of February, we are standing live in worship and in thanksgiving. It's the kiss in worship, thanksgiving with Funny Face. Ben Wale Wale, Sunyani, Tamale, Kuntusi, Pokwase, Santase, wherever you are, please join me. It is a free show. Please, children, make sure you join Uncle on the 21st for us to give God the thanks and praise. I miss them so much. Please join me and let. Children, I miss you.
Miss you too.
You miss me?
Yeah.
Oh, I miss you too.
Mommy, Daddy, please join us. Thank God for healing our president at Ifa Sutherland Children's Park, Accra, on Saturday, 21st February, 9 a.m.
With Metro TV and Original TV, supported by Original FM.
All right, welcome back to the Homeowners Show. For those of you who've tuned in, if you have any questions, please make sure you send them to our WhatsApp number, 0243-272753. And I promise to let Mr. Samuel respond before we go into more questions.
Okay, I think we have experienced some tax semantics over a period. And I'll trace this to, I think, 2012, when we were first hit with a 17.5% VAT. And GREDA took steps again. We petitioned government at that time. It took us 3 years to discuss, to dialogue, to push. And finally, in 2014, government agreed to do the 5% flat rate. It took the late Pakwesi Misata to constitute a committee. And I remember the current Minister for Finance, Ato Forson, was then the deputy for Setekwe. And he was made the Ministry of Finance rep on that committee. I remember that at a point there was even some scuffle in one of our meetings. And we had to deliberate on this for 3.5 years, or about 3 years, to get the flat rate, brought on board. Then we said we were not happy. We actually wanted it, shelved, because we thought that the position of getting more houses on the market was a better option, so that they use the other tax handles to make more revenue. So we pushed, and then when the NPP government by Nana Akufo-Addo came in the first time, we got them to add it to the nuisance taxes, the taxes they called it nuisance. And then it was taken off. That is why I'm saying semantics. Then, in the last year of the second term of NPP government, the same tax that was called nuisance was reintroduced. The flat rate was reintroduced. We petitioned them again. They didn't seek audience with us in the name of IMF conditionalities and so many other factors. They didn't listen to us. Then, NDC won power again. 2025, we wrote letters to try and get audience with government. They also didn't listen to us. However, they got GREDA into some stakeholder engagement when they were discussing the reforms. So some of these proposals were mentioned, we were taken on board, but we were thinking that it will surface somehow into the new law. And then we were then surprised totally, with the introduction of 20% VAT. That is a shocker. It's a real shocker. And I think we are not happy. We are not happy, not as the developers, it is Ghanaians that are not happy. And we need to communicate that very well to government to see about something to do. I'm not too sure. My brother here is giving us justification. Look, nobody runs away from revenue to help the state build the economy or build the country. We are all for it. But where there are options that we think are better and can give more revenue, and it is not being looked at, and we are looking at the other short way and also stifling businesses, killing businesses, making it difficulties for other people to earn daily bread. Because when I fold up, I'm going to fold up with workers, and they are going to go home. If I'm not able to sell properties, if I used to sell 10 properties every month, today I'll probably be selling 3 because of what is happening. And so we think that government should take steps to ensure that businesses grow, and then we rather focus on other alternatives that also will bring the same revenue that government is looking for. Because for me, I don't know what the calculation GRA has as going to get from this introduction of the 20% VAT, but I think they will be wrong with the figures that they will be seeing after wanting to implement this. And I also think that some of these taxes must be rolled slowly. There must be a roadmap. First, engage the people, that the stakeholders. We are a vehicle, GREDA, or the developers are the vehicle for collection. I hope you know that. We are supposed to collect this for government. So when we ourselves, we are confused as to what we are collecting, and we know that the people we are going to collect from are not happy to pay, it's a problem. But when there's a plan, the whole country has a plan, we have a roadmap, and let's say we will introduce VAT in the next 4 years. What are the preparations that we need to take to ensure that everybody is on board, so that we don't bring the policy and then now people punch holes into the policy, and then we have to go back and then start making adjustments. Look, our industry is peculiar in certain things. We are not doing 24-hour supermarket items like tin milk or producing cocoa drink. It takes about a year or so to build a house. It takes a lot of time for people to pay you, paying through installment arrangement. Somebody has even paid half. He's going to pay the other half. Now you are asking me to go and charge him VAT on the other half that he is supposed to pay. In principle of law, nobody should apply law retrospectively. Yes. If I have signed an agreement with somebody that I'm delivering a house at this price 2 years ago, I have not finished. He's not finished paying me. And today you have introduced a tax. Now you are telling me that his balance is attractable by 20% VAT. Are we being fair to the person who signed the contract with me 2 years ago? Are we applying retrospective law? Or what are we doing? In fact, these are things, I remember I raised this seriously at one of our stakeholder engagement, that they need to look at some of these things, because we are not dealing supermarket item here.
Absolutely, and especially if you've already priced it, you've done your marketing at a certain price, and now taxes are being reintroduced. Is it retroactive, as he says, or does it begin for the new projects?
They say no, but tax on the balance.
You talked about a roadmap, looking ahead. I would say before the roadmap, let's look at the past. Wouldn't it make sense to look at the various years and say that when we had 5% taxes introduced, we sold 100 homes. When we had 10%, we sold 50 homes. Why don't we look at the past and look at it in terms of how many homes were sold, how many homeowners were able to afford it, and based on that, rather than computations, we determine what the taxes should be based on the sales, based on affordability, based on the number of individuals that we were able to put roofs over their heads. Why don't we look at that rather than just look at computations?
Great. That is also part of the arrangement. Obviously, we cannot purport to know much more than the person who is doing his own business. And so in terms of, especially the point that you have just raised, I would believe that this should come in from the point of the developers, the estate developers. They would be able to tell us the number of units that they are able to sell over a period of time in relation to the various provisions of the tax laws, especially when it comes to taxes that are applicable to the estate development. So that one, it can come from that side. I believe it can be looked at. However, we should also not forget that government has a responsibility. But government can only undertake its responsibility with resources from its people. And the major resources that we can all count on is the taxes that we pay. And the taxes are applicable to various activities based on the laws that have been passed by the Parliament of Ghana. So once it's been passed, you and I don't have any way of circumventing it, or it will be an offense. For example, for GRA not to go ahead and collect the tax, it will be an offense because you have been given a law, collect this money for us. The law is there, and you decide that, no, I'm GRA, I won't collect the tax. Is it not going to be an offense? The same way the offense also comes in from a person who has been identified to also collect the tax on behalf of the state. So you will see that all we are talking about basically is to ensure that there is fairness and certainty within the system. Much as we know now, because of the challenges that existed in the previous regime, it necessitated this action to take place. And I'm saying, and I would like to say it again, that the 20% that is being mentioned, in essence, is not the VAT rate. I think I've explained earlier on, but let me also go a little further.
You mentioned 15%.
Yeah, 15%. You see, there is always a set-off when you are dealing with the standard arrangement. Now, it was through the computation, I think I've just discussed this already, it was through the computation done on the set-off arrangement that the flat rate was identified and used for them. Now, what we gather from the build-up to the level where we are dealing with this, there's a VAT reform. The VAT reform seeks to enhance compliance. Compliance will happen if people know exactly what the tax is about. So what rate are they paying, and then how does it affect their business? Now, as we move along, we establishing compliance, we are breaking down the structures that led to overbloating the actual rates for the VAT. And if I may mention that those structures, you realize that there was a time before the reform that you had to charge the levies, add them to the cost of the item before you charge VAT. Those were the things that raised the value or the taxes on the transactions that were taking place. As we speak now, those structural arrangement has been corrected with this reform VAT. And so, in essence, VAT is staying at the same level. The challenge that the home developers have is a flat rate issue. I also said that the flat rate is a computation from this same transaction. So what will happen now is that in as much as taxes, yes, raise prices of goods and services, when the economy is doing well and general price levels have come down, it will eventually reflect on the prices of the various homes that will be developed for people to consume. So I would not want us to take it just as a whole, that just because we have moved from the flat rate to the standard rate, prices are going to be up. It may not be the same, because you see, the businesses will take input tax. That input tax will lower the total cost of the supply that they are making. And therefore, when you even apply the 20% on it, it will come back to almost the same rate that is being paid when it was a flat rate. Okay. That is what happened.
I want to take some questions from the viewers. And Mr. Samuel, One of the questions is, if the developers are so concerned, as you put it, about the homeowners, why don't you absorb the tax instead of passing it on to them?
They want us to go home without anything. No. I mean, I don't think that is a good question to ask. We are all business people. At the end of the day, business must bring profit.
Or split the tax. What about that question? Maybe the question should be split,
I think there's
not absorbed.
a lot of things that, depending on the company or the developer's own pricing strategy, maybe absorbing some. I mean, a lot of them are already doing that already.
Yeah.
We are just dealing with the issue on the face value. Yeah.
So you see, the developers really do care, and as he said, some of them are absorbing those taxes. All right, let's move on to the questions quickly. Good evening, Madam. I watch this show every Saturday, and it's very educative and insightful. I love it. Sedinam from Tema Community 4. Nice to meet you. Please make sure you are sharing the program with others to enjoy as well. She says, please, this is a slap on the industry, and if this policy fails, who takes responsibility? Well, I think he has pretty much answered that question to say that some of the developers are absorbing the taxes, and Mr.
Not in whole.
There
may be margins of it. You can't, but no developer can take.
Because 20% or 15%, as you said, is quite high. I'm Sophie from Taifa. Honestly, I want to ask the director from GRA, who is this policy really designed for? Citizens or revenue targets? You have 30 seconds to answer that.
Well, it's the revenue policy is designed to help develop the country, of course, as a whole. Various persons or various diseases will be impacted by the effect. However, the expectation is that as we go on, various actions will be taken to mitigate the effect that will have on various sections of the economy.
Okay. Madam, this is very interesting discussion, very enlightening. The program is good, but my question is, does government understand how hard it already is to own a home? I'm a young man trying to put up my building. I'm Anthony Kumi in Tema. Thank you for watching, Anthony. Do you think the government understands?
I believe government understands, but we are looking at something, I would say, is it the chicken or the egg? Which one do we want?
Is it the chicken or the egg? Yes. We are running out of time. I want to thank my guests for being here tonight. Please, you have 10 seconds, final words. I think your final words, is it the chicken or egg? But go ahead, Mr. David, very quickly.
Yes, well, I want to encourage all of us that we are in this together. We rise and fall together. Let us put our shoulders to the wheel. Now, this basically is cleaning the system. The reform is cleaning the system so that we, first and foremost, will come to the same level of understanding with issues relating to VAT.
Okay.
And the rates, and therefore also enhance compliance.
Okay. It's
Let's
reforming
demand invoices
the system.
when we make purchases so that compliance will be enhanced.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Samuel, please wrap it up.
Well, I think I'll just encourage our developers that we should stay
the course.
Yes. We are in dialogue with government. We have an invitation to meet with the commissioner himself this Wednesday. Let's see what comes out of it from that meeting.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I want to thank my guests, Mr. Samuel, Mr. David. Thank you both very much. And I want to encourage all of you tonight that indeed the conversations are ongoing. Government and GREDA are working hard to ensure that everybody can own a home. Thank you so much. I'll see you next Saturday.
Face, and this is the Children's Park. This is the Children's President. I'm standing here this day by the grace of God and the prayers of parents and their children. On the 21st of February, we are standing live in worship and in thanksgiving. is the kiss in wedding. Thanksgiving with funny face. Ben Wale Wale, Sunyani, Tamale, Kuntu